What's up, guys? Enigma here. This is gonna be pretty scuffed for the most part, but I said I was gonna make a YouTube video involving Cleric for Dark and Darker Mobile. A lot of this is gonna be kind of separated, I guess you could say, from solo play of Cleric and Gobby Caves, melee build, which is gonna be essentially the same as the solo play in Gobby Caves, and then trios support class. So that's more gonna be like healing and stuff like that. But with that being said, I'm trying to just do this in one take. I'm not trying to bother with having this severely edited or stuff like that. It's just kind of my initial thoughts when it comes to it. So we'll get right into it. So for the most part, obviously you guys know, top leaderboard player for Cleric. I'm probably one of the only people other than Spine and maybe one or two other people that actually play this class in NA or stuff like that makes content. Most people either play Wizard or Rogue because that's kind of the meta class, especially for solos. There's obviously a few barbarians like Sauce, Tronics, I believe, as well. There's a lot of different classes that you can play, but with the rogue nerfs and stuff like that, if you're playing trios especially, it's almost a necessity to have a Cleric against certain squads. Obviously, you're needing probably a barbarian or fighter, preferably a barbarian, and then a wizard as your third. So this class is kind of going to be that in-between of what your playstyle is going to be for this class and what you kind of want to focus on. So the first thing is obviously going to be the skills. What I'm running currently for this set, this is for Gobby Cave solos. We're talking 1v1s against rogues, rangers, wizards, barbarians. Obviously for the class, it's going to be quite scuffed. You don't have as much move speed as the other classes. You don't get the traits, I guess you could say, in terms of magic resist when it comes to wisdom, charm, or knowledge. None of those give you base magic resist onto your class. It's a lot going to be more trait reliant, kind of like what your rolls are in your items, what gear you're running. Most people in Gobby Caves are rocking golds and purples in hell. They're all looking for the fights. They're all looking for 1v1s, especially with the mob density range. This class is one of those where you have to really play it a certain way for you to win against these 1v1s against things like Wizard that has 3 dashes or Rogues that have the double jump and can interact with everything faster than you. So for my first ability, it's going to be Protection. This is going to be the one that you can cast on allies or yourself. It's a flat amount. It scales with magic. And then for the second ability, it's going to be Beacon of Hope. The reason for this one is not only is it a heal for yourself, it's a good damage dealer. It's a good little kind of beacon you can put down, like in the name, and it does damage to enemies in a radius, including players, not just mobs. So if you're training mobs, it's good to clear. You can grab it all and then put 2 of them down with the spell book using the double spell proc. You can run, the main stuff and kind of just start saucing while the beacon's down. You can tank a few hits and then get healed up. There's a lot of different ways you can play with the beacon. It's more just getting used to how to cast it, when people might decide to all in you, and you can place it down before they get to you, so you have that little bit of damage on them. There's a few different ways you can play it. I mean, obviously you can run bind as well. The first one for a protection spell is 100% needed. But the second spell is kind of just what you'd prefer. I personally would go with Chalice because I've spammed it over and over in castles, and I'm kind of used to how the PvP is for this sort of character. Now, for the passives, the reason why I'm running Protection is if you run self-protection, it does not scale with magic, but that allows you to build your traits into other stuff like PDR, like agility, strength, vigor, physical damage bonus, magic resist, all of those sorts of things, because with self-protection, it gives you a flat 90 damage. It only goes on yourself. You don't need to cast it on other people if it's just you in the lobby, right? So you run this, you're able to proc it on yourself, you're able to use it when you have your melee out. It's not something that you have to worry about with, I guess you could say, like, needing to use it and, like, aim it. No, it's a single proc. It'll stay on you. It lasts for a really long time, like a minute, almost 60 or 90 seconds. It's one of those abilities that's basically a necessity with the skill that you're running, or with the active that you're running. This passive is a necessity just for you to be able to 1v1 people. And also, if you guys didn't know this, any sort of protection stuff, if it does not break, like let's say you're fighting a wizard, if your spell or if your shield does not break from their spell, it does not shock you. You do not get staggered. It protects you from getting cucked and all that sort of stuff. It's one of those things that's completely insane that most people don't know about, especially with just regular protection pots. It works with. It's just obviously with this, it's 90 damage. It's a lot harder to break it, that sort of stuff. The second one, I personally like running Blessed Plate Armor. It's just less damage taken. You're only able to run plate gear, which means you're slow. But you're a lot tankier. A lot of the items for plate gear, is that sort of vigor, full damage or full physical damage reduction. Rogues have a really hard time killing you, especially with this protection spell of just actually breaking through your HP and your sort of defense you have as a character. The third one is going to be Holy Aura. I was running this just for myself because I like the flat physical and magic damage reduction. You could probably be running something like Healing Shield, like Magic Mastery. I mean, all these ones on the left side, you can kind of just look through and think, hey, is this something that kind of fits my playstyle? If you don't like running this, my favorite thing would probably just be the Healing Shield. Only because when you use the buckler, if you block, that's considered a block. You're going to get 15% HP back to yourself. Obviously, it says allies. You're not running it with allies. No one really cares about that. And then the fourth skill, I don't know why I swapped that. The fourth passive is going to be the Mace Mastery. This is kind of the big key takeaway for the class that all the other classes kind of struggle with dealing with or recognizing when a cleric has this, is you do a movement slow, no cooldown on it. If you hit multiple attacks, it doesn't stack, but they get a flat 20% movement speed reduction. Now, movement speed reduction is quite insane, only because if you're against classes like Wizard, like Rogue, that maybe you're going to ego you through a doorway. They think you're not going to do damage, or they don't understand the shielding passives that you're running and stuff like that, whether it's you drinking a prot pot into a prot spell. Them going through 130 HP, 150 HP essentially that you have is going to be kind of an ego check for a lot of people. And this game is all about people that want to go for the PvP, right? We all understand, you know, getting chased down through doors and stuff like that. This is the part where when they come at you, you don't turn around. You don't stop. You hold them at a door. You go right into them if they have mobs on them, and you force them to make a mistake. The beauty of it as well is if you run the prot spell and stuff like that, if yours breaks early, you can just back up. Cooldown is pretty easy. You're going to have at least one stack of mana pots, right? You're not going to be stressing too much about it. This is where you start catching people off guard, especially rogues, because the 20% move speed forces them onto you. If you don't like the idea of not being able to stay on someone immediately, you can just remove Blessed Plate Armor. You can run stuff that's more Vigor-based, Strength-based, kind of almost like a Barbarian build. Maybe the Plate Chest piece is the only thing you have, because the physical damage reduction you get is going to be a significant number, but that's only if you don't feel like only wearing plate gear. I personally like plate gear. If you don't like it, you can take this off and you can run everything else for you to have that extra move speed to try to stay on targets a little bit longer. Now, the next thing I guess I would say is for kind of just the item sets. In terms of the armor and stuff like that, it's kind of like I just said. Do you really want to be going for full plate gear, or do you want something different? Now, this is my main kit. This is for trios. This is not my solo set that I have on currently in the stashes. For the skills page, I've switched it for you guys to be able to see easier. For my items, I'm personally looking at the melee items, so my two-handed section, whether that's the spell book and the buckler mace combo. For my mace, I personally enjoy the Morningstar because the flat damage is significantly higher, even though it's a slower swing, even though you have more of a move speed reduction using it. I just personally enjoy using it because I just want to go for that two-hit combo, whether it's on rogues, whether it's on wizards. I want to do as much damage as possible to scare the living shit out of these people, you know. The buckler, 100% the best shield. You need to be using this. If you're using another shield, you're trolling, because if a rogue runs up to you and he's running stun, right, the daze thing, you know, everyone understands it, and tries to one-tap you, you just wait for your shield bash, you instantly stun them, and by the way, this applies physical power to it. If you can't read this at the bottom on the right, applies physical power in the shield, so you just go straight to ham with it. If you have a lot of physical damage bonus, armor pen, whatever the case may be, you shield bash, you could do like as much damage as your mace almost with this thing. It's kind of insane. So you do this, you get 2 swings off. It's harder for them to run away because you have Mace Mastery and you have Protection Spell for you to tank an extra 90 damage plus a prop pot. That's 130 damage extra. 130 HP you can kind of think that you have. If you include the chalice as well, if they start running, you try to preemptively cast it. This is why I run the spell book, no matter if you're running solos, trios, or just a support build. Having 2 abilities that you could throw back to back is not something to joke around, especially the chalice. The chalice itself, even if you are not building the knowledge, wisdom, magic power set that I have going on, you're still going to do 60, 70 damage. And that number is still going to be a factor in the fights, because we're talking rogues and wizards for the most part are going to be fighting, right? We're not talking people that are running 500, 600 HP base kits on like Barbarian or something. We're talking low HP classes. The only issue for you is getting on them. With this sort of stun combo with the Mace Mastery, it really prevents them from being able to just recklessly run at you. Now, that being said, for trios, if you're wanting to run the melee set, you can 100% do this. 100% the same build. If you want to be up there with the Barbarian, maybe, this loadout is perfect for you, because you can be right next to him. You both have a bunch of HP. Maybe you have a wizard that's casting spells right through you guys. Maybe you have a ranger just popping shots off through you guys. If you have the shield bash as well, it's a free, basically, ISO on a player, preventing them from either taunting or stunning, whatever the case may be. It's just all a matter of how you do it and when your timing's right. If you're fighting someone 1v1, the best case situation, even if it's in trios, it might be a 1v1 still at the end of the day, you need to play around your buckler cooldown. It's like a 10-second cooldown. You want to make sure that you're spamming that shit off spawn. Even if you're only getting 1 or 2 hits, it's not like you have to fully commit to you being a player potentially getting knocked. Because we all understand when someone gets knocked, there's a potential of thirst, and you having to revive is a lot harder than you just maybe playing it a bit slower, letting the people in the back get the kill credit, and you ultimately just healing yourself while having a player advantage up. Now, for trios, I would obviously be running the Holy Aura. The whole party getting it is pretty insane. I think you can kind of keep everything for the most part. You're not really needing Advanced Healer. You're not needing Magic Mastery, because you're running the melee build. All there is to it. Now, for my build that I run, I personally, for now, this is going to be trios, support build, magic. This is going to be fully, like, I'm trying to nuke someone with the chalice or just pump out healing. This is where it starts getting a little more like, okay, you need to play the class almost like a wizard, but you're not being the one that does damage. You're having the barbarian or fighter or maybe another cleric in front of you, full tanking while you heal them constantly over and over and over. Now, I'm fine if you run the Blessed Plate Armor. It's all kind of up on you. I run Magic Mastery. If you wanted to as well, you could run Advanced Healer if you're going full healing. This would be if you're running Chalice and probably the Holy Light, I believe it is, yeah. Where you can cast this, it's a straight heal on your ally. It's pretty wonky getting it down the first few times, but it's really insane if you have a set. I've personally never tried this with my set, but I believe I'd be getting around 80 to 90 healing per this, which, by the way, there's 3 charges, so that's 300 HP. And then my Chalice, I've already tested. I do almost 130 HP healing. If I was to use that twice, that's 260 plus 300. I'm doing 500 healing before the cooldown comes back. That's not something to joke around with, and that's without if you were to be running the Advanced Healer. Okay, now for me, I'm usually playing with people that I'm not stressing too much about healing. I'm looking more for my Chalice damage and heal as a nuke. I want to go in, play the buckler once just so my frontliner doesn't die immediately. I'm usually running either Kindness or Hand of Salvation. Either one of these is fine. Hand of Salvation is pretty good for PvP because it gives you the shielding back. It's not anything too crazy. A lot of this stuff, though, is kind of down to what you take as personal preference. For the most part, if you're wanting to run my sort of build, I personally really enjoy the plate gear, even as a support build, because a lot of this stuff that you can get is going to have a lot of physical defense, a lot of even magic resist, depending on which items you get. And with you enchanting the gear, that's only going to go up for you, right? Magic resist is kind of one of the biggest things right now that people are sleeping on, because wizards are so strong. I will sleep till the day I die. Wizards the most insane class right now, with rogue kind of coming in at a close second. That's more sleeper tech. That's more, I think, those rogue players haven't really understood the class fully yet for you to start seeing maybe 1 or 2 tap potentials from someone invisible on your screen. But we're not talking about Rook, we're talking about Cleric right now, right? For this, if you were to play the support style, or even if you were to have a Barbarian or someone full send into you, you're not dying in 2 swings, you're taking 3 or 4, and with that, that gives you the opportunity to move back and stuff like that. When it comes to the spell book and stuff like that, all this sort of stuff, magic power, magic bonus, these are the stats you want to focus. Now, I personally went with knowledge and stuff like that for a lot of these items. A lot of my items either have knowledge or it's charm or wisdom. The best thing for you to build if you're to go support Cleric is going to be magic power, magic damage bonus, and wisdom itself. Knowledge is great. Knowledge is a stat that gives you more magic damage. Unfortunately, it's just the scaling compared to magic power is not going to be anywhere close to where if you were to just take in magic bonus and stuff like that. So for this sort of stuff, it's really kind of personal preference what you want and stuff like that. I always enjoy whenever I get HP stats and stuff like that on my items. Anything involving agility is perfectly fine. I personally would actually rather have something different from agility, because if you're running full plate gear, you're running trios, you're not trying to chase someone down. You're not trying to be that guy that plays move speed. You're trying to tank everything, okay? And for me, I try to throw double chalice down on myself if I'm in 1v1s. And I sit in it and I tank it. I take 130 healing back. The enemy takes roughly 200 damage from mine. Now, if you're wanting to use this for more of a PvE style class, right? We're talking a lot of, I guess you could say, bossing or just straight up hell runs. Chalice is the #1 skill for you to use. But if you're to use anything else, I would highly recommend Cleanse as your second ability. This means you're not going to have nearly as much healing, but you're going to be able to come in and kind of be able to understand that, hey, with Cleanse, we're able to do the boss virtually without taking any damage. Now, if you needed to, I can link down below as well in the comments maybe, or you can look at my previous videos, how I personally do boss playing Cleric going into Ghost King. A lot of it's kind of more you spacing out and stuff like that. Cleanse is one of the most slept on, I guess you could say, abilities you can use in this game. It works on taunt from fighters. Now, the issue is when you get taunted, you're almost already going to be getting nuked by someone, so it's a little more of like a preemptive use, stuff like that. Try to get it going and all that sort of juiciness. Resurrection's not really that useful. Eye detections, whatever. You can just have a wizard in your party use a crystal ball. Bind is a little too short of an ability. Blazing Ray is just way too little damage for the most part. It's not really the move. Cooldown's quite long. The Blessing of War is you're only getting 1 or 2 hits off for the most part. You're never taking 4, 5, 6 swings into someone. Protection, might be useful, especially if you're using it on an ally frontline. It's just the only issue with that is there's a cooldown for it. Protection will always be one of those spells where it sounds good in theory. It's just, unfortunately, you'd probably rather just have straight healing for an ally. Now, with that being said, that's kind of the only thing for the class. I'm not sure what else you guys would really want to discuss. A lot of it's more theory crafting, understanding how to build your kit to play to certain strengths. Now, if you're playing with a support build, you're wanting a lot of magic. You're not wanting physical power unless it's just on the melee itself. For the spell book, for even the magic staff, if you were to use it, you're only focusing on cast speed, wisdom, charm, knowledge, magic power. Any of the other stuff is completely useless to you. Magic resist, I think, is one of the only things that you'll get away with. Health and maybe strength in your kit, because strength gives you obviously some HP back. A lot of it's just kind of a matter of what you prefer and what you're feeling like if you need more HP and stuff like that. If you're needing more stuff, you're going to go Vigor and flat health. Double rolling items is amazing, depending on what you're going. Like, let's say if you're playing Wizard, you have Knowledge Shoes with Knowledge additional stats. You get any sort of magic down below it, it's almost the most insane boots in the game. Same thing with Cleric. If you get Knowledge, or maybe Vigor health, that item alone is giving you probably 30, 40 HP, right? So a lot of it comes down to your additional stats. Just because it's gold doesn't mean it's good, guys. That's why we throw it up on sale for 1,000. That's why people buy it and sell it instantly. They turn it in for, the black shards and stuff like that. Any of that sort of stuff is up for it. But hopefully this kind of helps you guys understand the class, what I personally would be going if I'm running solo Gabi case, whether it's me running trio melee build, or whether it's that sort of trio support build where I'm allowing someone else to kind of make the plays, and I'm making sure that they don't go down for us to secure these fights. And ultimately, guys, if you're playing trios, make sure you play with people. If you're going against people with mercenaries, you always focus the main player for the most part first, unless they start backing up immediately. Then you can take out the mercenaries one at a time. Escape zones are a big thing. Understanding kind of room layouts is a big thing. And I think a lot of the people that are watching my videos are pretty experienced. This is kind of just me rambling on now about it. But for you guys that are new and stuff like that, there's a lot of other content creators that'll do it for their own classes. I believe iStream has made a guide on one of the classes. Same with Tronics. Those are creators you definitely should check out on YouTube. Fade as well for Rogue. He's basically the #1 Rogue player when it comes to someone not just only loot simming. Okay. I think the next video idea, I'll be ending it shortly after this little note. I think the next video idea might be a class tier list. I'll probably bring in some top players into a voice call and just kind of have a 10-minute discussion of what the best classes would be. Kind of have, you know, maybe an ability breakdown per class of kind of S tier to A tier, B tier, C tier, the likes of it. But with that being said, obviously, you know, apologies for not streaming too much. Been trying to get out there. It's just more so been busy IRL, doing some casting for PUBG Mobile stuff. But for the most part, we're planning on bringing Dark and Darker Mobile back at least to stream a few hours each day. Ultimately, though, appreciate all of you guys. I think we're up to 100 extra subs within the last 30 days. We're at almost, I think, 10,000 views. Couldn't have done without any of you guys, of course. It's definitely a big confidence boost, big help, especially when you guys leave comments, whether it's nice things, whether it's just genuine questions. I always try to respond and, you know, kind of show my love to the community in any way possible. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Much love, and hopefully we'll be streaming tomorrow.